away we go then. The start of the feature race in the Porsche Esports Supercup. Good start from Sanchez, actually. He's got the inside line on Phil Sell. Phil Sell is stuck in the middle of the track because Bootloop's looking to the outside. Oh, they've all missed the braking into turn one. Sanchez, an absolute nightmare. Is he going to hold on to it, though? The answer is no, but Phil Sell's dropped down. Oh, there's contact. Bootloop is around. He's got contact here as well. We're sorting everything out here, and still chaos and 2 wide, 3 wide through the arena complex. But amazingly, everybody does look to be still going. Oh, massive accident there for Castrolado in the background. Another car off as well. There's a really bad rejoin as well from Castrolado. Jurgis is off as well. Massive incident further back. We'll get the replay up, or try to get the replay up on screen. Here we go. So you could see that Sanchez had missed his braking point. There was contact between 2 Coanda cars in the first part of the arena section, which sent Bootloop off, and then it all really kicks off around the second part of the complex here. You can see the 74 car on the inside. Castrolado, bang, there's first contact, around he goes into the barrier, and he's just rolling that car straight away in front of everybody. And well, yeah, that's the least said about that, the better. There was an incident actually to turn one as well that was further down your field, but really the big talking point is that big incident there. Castrolado, Piatella, Yao Vaz and Pedros Jurgis are all out of the race, but that missing your braking into turn one there for Sanchez, Connery, as we saw on the replay again, it's just heartbreaking. He was so determined and got a really good start.
Yeah, I mean, he tried to capitalize on everything there. You know, he wanted that race lead of a main race in the Porsche Esports Super Cup, which, you know, not all that many people have been able to get here. But unfortunately for the Spanish driver, completely messed up into turn one. Of course, well, indirectly was a participant in the carnage bind, I guess is the way I'll phrase that one. He actually still sits in around about P4 here, so he hasn't really lost much in terms of that one. He could have so easily been cycled all the way back to the mid-pack here, so he is kind of lucky that he's been able to maintain some form of position here on lap 2. We are on board with Martin Kroenke, though, who tries to give chase to Jared Phil Sell. And Phil Sell, well, unlike last race, he hasn't really been able to extend the gap here on the first 1 or 2 laps, thanks to a bit of battling behind. It's Kroenke that's fallen in line pretty easily, and Sebastian Job does the same as well. And a little bit further back, you have the Coanda Armada once again. That's David Williams and Mitchell de Jong as well. De Jong trying to work his way through, but as it stands, he is a couple positions behind Josh Rodgers. Will be losing points to him in the championship, and well, can't really afford to do so in this situation. And David Williams, he's giving everyone points away for free at this point, it seems.
It's like Oprah Winfrey. You get a position and you get a position as they go through, and only for team compatriots in his team, so that's he's not that generous. But Sebastian Job has been the pressure on. Here's Gregor Hutu in 10th place. He's behind Patrick Holtzman, so these two battling away. And look at Job, the run out the chicane, looking to the inside of Coca-Cola curb, and that's the racecraft right there of Martin Kroenke. He realized that Job had a nose in there, didn't completely move onto the apex, gave him the racing room so he didn't get turned around himself. That is very smart racing. You can hold it around the outside. Sanchez is going down, trying to hold on to his position ahead of Rodgers as well. But Kroenke knew that this section was coming up.
They're still battling on live pictures.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fantastic to see as they're going into the second part of the arena. We've got Rodgers and Sanchez behind. We're seeing this whole battle for second down to 5th place. And finally, they sort themselves out. Rodgers is up to 4th place behind Martin Kroenke, but Sebastian Job, crucially, is ahead of Martin Kroenke here, and he'll be setting his sights in front now. He doesn't want to look back. He wants to look forward at Jared Phil Sell, who's 1.4 ahead of them.
Yeah, absolutely. So Job made his way through up into P2, and now he's the driver responsible for giving chase to your leading Australian, and it's not the one that perhaps everyone expects every single time we hit the track here. It's Jared Filsell leading from Sebastian Job, and here's the other Australian that people do expect to be leading races. That's Joshua Rogers on board with him as he tries to work his way through on his own teammate of Martin Kroenke up in towards turn 11. Kroenke's still ahead for now, but I have to wonder whether he'll have to, well, not have to, but whether he will let Joshua Rogers go here to try and chase a championship, since Kroenke is out of that one for all intents and purposes right now. So maybe he'll have to do his best David Williams impression and let Rogers by here, but we do know, and as Philip Stam and others in Coanda keep telling us, there is no team orders in Coanda Sim Sports, but Joshua Rogers easy on his way through there. Coca-Cola Curve. Sanchez trying to stick his nose in as well in that MSI Esports car. He'll have a compromised line coming off the corner and is now under threat from Mitchell de Jong around the outside, and Sanchez still losing ground here on the way down into turn 1. Goes so deep on the brakes and decides to head his way down the inside of Kroenke as well. Kroenke gives him the space up towards the Mercedes arena. They continue fighting through turn 3. Mitchell de Jong inside, not quite clear just yet. Sanchez looking for a big send down the inside at the second left, but he has to fall behind. He has to know when he's beaten, and now a single file through turn 4. Absolutely fantastic flurry of power.
Sanchez in 2 laps has dropped down from 4th to 6th. He's got David Williams all over him. Behind them as well, there's a gaggle of cars. Tommy Østgaard, there's Patrick Holtzman, Gregor Hooter and Jeremy Bootloop all scrapping away. There's been lights flashing between the 4 of them as well. We've got a car off. Oh, don't say that's Kazuki again. It is Kazuki Mashima. He's having an absolute nightmare in this championship, and it's in that complex there of turn 5 and turn 6, and he's helped around there in, that was the Williams car that turned him around. So not the best day for Kazuki as he rejoins, and look at that, safe rejoin then from him back onto track. That's how you do it there. But well, you look at the front of your field, John Filsell, you can see the gap that he's got, but that gap is closing. Sebastian Job is slowly bringing that gap in. It was more than a second, it was about a second and a half just a couple of laps ago. Now it's down to a second, and the 2 of them set pretty similar lap times the last time around, but now as they go over the start and finish straight, we'll be able to see what sort of lap times they do. 55.2 from Filsell, 54.9 from Job. He's taken 3/10 out of Filsell, and he's bringing Joshua Rogers along with him. There's 2 Coanda cars side by side, De Jong and Kroenke.
Sanchez!
Wow, there's a big incident at turn number 1 as we look at this pack of Beneke coming into that as well. Luckily it's cleared as that incident at turn number 1, but Beneke, look at the drive he's had, up to 12th place. As we mentioned earlier, it is more difficult to gain positions the further up the field you go, but that's Sanchez just missing his braking and turning. I believe that was Jeremy Bootloop that he turned, was it? Or was it Tommy Østgaard? It was one of the 2. Yeah, it was Kroenke. Sorry, Martin Kroenke. I do apologise, getting my numbers mixed up there. But yeah, just missed his braking into the rear quarter panel of him there, and away goes Sanchez once again. But Beneke, he's working his way up through the field here, up to 12th at the moment, but crucially for him, he's got a Coanda car, Jeremy Bootloop, right ahead, who wasn't the slowest of cars either, Conor.
Not the slowest of cars indeed, as you see Kroenke getting involved in that one. Took the brunt of the impact there from Sanchez. As we do return to the live pictures, we do have a little bit of a battle a little bit further back as well. Here's Maximilian Beneke behind the wheel of that number 11 car, looking to try and work his way into the top 10 here. He has 2 positions to be able to do so, and about 20 minutes to be able to make it work as well. So This is probably the best the race could have gone so far here for Beneke, and well, you can see ahead that Hutu is trying to make a position up on Martin Kroenke. So Hutu versus Kroenke, this is a little bit of deja vu here. If you look at the past couple of years of iRacing World Championships, Hutu around the outside, that gives Bootloop the position to be able to have a bit of a look. And here comes Beneke now as we ride on board with Hutu. It's all happening behind him, as you can see from the aerial coverage. And now Beneke gets himself ahead of the Frenchman. Has to defend though down in towards turn 1. Has a look at the fin of Hutu as well. Here comes Bootloop again down the inside. He's not done with this battle at all. Side by side between Kroenke and Hutu through the Mercedes arena. And now Beneke looks to capitalize on that fact as well. Get all of these positions done. Here comes Hutu down the inside of Kroenke. Oh, that's such a dominant move there. A bit of contact off the corner through turn 3. Maximum Beneke's been able to make a position, and he may be able to make up more as well.
Yeah, so as you can see, what the arena section does, it gives you so many options as they go through into the left-hander. And Kroenke must have damage on that car from that incident with Sanchez, because he's dropping down the order. He's side by side with Graham Carroll. We'll have a look at the replay then of everything that happened in the Mercedes arena section, and it was side by side with Kroenke and Hutu. That allowed Beneke to have a look as well, but he wasn't alongside. And Hutu down the inside, aggressive move, locked his brakes a little bit, just the tiniest of touches, and that allowed Beneke to just pop down the inside and gain another position. So up to 10th place now for Max Beneke. He's on a charge at the moment. As we go back to live pictures, then you can see Beneke set on the car in front of that's Gregor Hutu, sorry. But look ahead, because your leader has been wound in. He's now only half a second ahead of the battle for second place. That's between Job and Joshua Rogers. So your championship leader, Rogers, looking really good for some solid points here to try and pull out his championship lead. Again, at this point, he really doesn't need to make a move, because he's not losing that many points to Sebastian Job, who feels the need to go defensive into turn number 1, and that's going to compromise him slightly. Phil Sell is going to just be happy with these two battling it out here between the two of them as they go into 2 and then 3. Around the left-hander they go. We'll look back as well, because Hutu and Bootloop side by side now between the two of them. Nose in there for Gregor. We saw how he made the move. There was lock brakes from Beneke in front of them. That almost caused the concertina effect there, but Bootloop has managed to stay ahead. And here comes Graham Carroll now, the Scotsman, having to get off the power, maybe even touch the brakes, because Hutu wasn't giving him the space, wasn't going to allow him the room. So 10th, 11th and 12th, which means that Beneke now incredibly is up to 9th place in this race. And here comes Carroll now. He's on the defensive, because alongside him here is Jamie Fluke, the Apex Racing Team driver, the Northern Irishman. So battle of the Celtic nations here around the Dunlop hairpin. Fluke, if he can hold it down the outside, he's got the inside for the first part, the Schumacher S. Can they keep on doing it? We're looking at Jamie Fluke right now as he works his way through. He's just having to stick behind Graham Carroll, but you can see how he's having to focus, how he's having to work on Graham Carroll in front of him, but also concentrate on the drivers behind, because there's others as well involved in this one, and Sedgwick is the one behind him right now. But right now, Jamie Fluke, he's settled himself down once again behind Graham Carroll, but he won't be giving this one up.
P2, Joshua Rogers inside line through the final corner over Sebastian Job. Had a big look indeed, and he might still have the opportunity. You can see the weaving Job is doing down the pit straight, trying to break the draft, but Rogers might just have an opportunity here. Down the inside of turn 1, positions his car in the right place, but no! Sebastian Job is around at turn 1. Huge implications there in terms of the points for this race, as Job gets himself cycled almost all the way to the back of the field, almost collides there with Maximum Beneke as he has to get on the brakes to avoid an impact there. So might be even further drama there between those two, as we'll see that incident into 1.
Yes, we'll look at that. We just caught the back end of it there. Here we go then from our aerial coverage once again. And it's Rogers looking to the inside. He's trying to make that move. Jump turns in and bang, around he goes. I think the stewards may be having a look at that. And Rogers, as we've mentioned, he can't afford to get involved in any silly incidents because he could end up costing himself a race in this championship. And considering he's at the lead of the championship, and he'll be really panicking about that one.
Yeah, that is for sure. Of course, we do have the point that, you know, Australian versus European racing in terms of sim racing does sometimes turn out like that, but yeah, he does have to be very, very careful indeed with the instance that he gets himself into, because, well, he's already had a qualifying ban so far this season, and, you know, any further more serious punishments then might just put him at a huge, huge disadvantage coming into the latter round of the championship. So big drama, 15 minutes left remaining in this race, and still very much all to play for in terms of your race win here, because Joshua Rogers, he needs to put that instant into the back of his mind right now, or rather out of his mind, and have to actually go and chase this race win now, no matter what happens in the steward's office.
Well, the man who really has benefits out of that is Joshua Rogers, because now he's not got somebody slowing himself up with the battling to really put the pressure on your race leader of Jared Filsell. There's still just under half of the race remaining in this one. It is Jared Filsell in the lead ahead of Joshua Rogers in second place. Mitchell de Jong is in third place at the moment. He's got a bit of no man's land at the moment for Mitchell ahead of David Williams. Alejandro Sanchez now fifth place ahead of Patrick Holtzman and Tommy Erskard. Those two haven't been able to be separated all day. We're looking at the battling further down, and that is Niles Kush down in 19th, 18th, battling Marcus Jensen as they're going into the left right here. And these drivers, they've got a queue of cars behind them as well. Antoine Hijlan and Alexander Thebe are involved in this, and well, nice move there from Jensen to get ahead of Niles Kush. And so these drivers back onto the brakes, looking into the Dunlop curve. Niles trying to make it work, but it's not quite working out for him as we go up into the Schumacher S. But great racing, shows what great racing you have throughout the field. Let's not forget that this is such a tightly packed and competitive field that unfortunately incidents are going to happen when you're involved in such close quarters racing like this.
Yeah, you have to be very, very careful, and now Filsell will probably be very aware of what has happened to Joshua Rogers. He probably got a good view of it in his wing mirrors and his rear view mirrors as well, but it is an all-Australian affair here for the battle for P1 in your main race of this round of the Porsche Esports Supercup. Rogers looking for a line through turn one, looking to get the traction off the corner to be able to bring himself close up to the rear bumper coming through the Mercedes arena. And now Joshua Rogers 2.5 seconds is the gap over Mitchell de Jong in P3, so they have a huge amount of space to be able to try and make this battle work over the next good couple of minutes here between these two. I feel like Joshua Rogers has the ultimate pace advantage here over Filsell. He was actually 0.4 of a second faster than his compatriot on that last lap, so Rogers has all the cards, but can he actually make them work in this situation?
But we have seen already in this season how quick Filsell can be in this car. We saw it at Watkins Glen, didn't we? The win that he got in the feature race there, along with the second place, it was Apex Racing Team's debut World Championship win for them. And so he can pedal this car, and he can do a good job in it. Here comes Rogers then, he's looking to the inside, and well, Filsell is going to hold that outside line. It gives him the inside for the next two turns, but Filsell, that's a warning shot right there for him. Filsell's got to be concerned now because Rogers is looking and he's trying to make the move. He's going to look to the outside, try and carry the speed into the chicane. It's going to be the last of the late breakers, but suddenly short braking zone here. Phil Sells allowing the room, allowing the space. He doesn't want to get punted out of this position into Coca-Cola curve once again. We're heading into the final third of this race, and well, Rogers is setting him up here. He's in the slipstream, he's in the draft as they go behind the pit buildings, looking down towards turn number 1 then, and looking to the inside is Rogers. He's going to make this move. Is he going to make it stick? He holds it on the apex. Phil Sell down to second, but he's going to try the cut back here into 2. It's not quite worked out for him, but we've seen how in this arena section you can make the different lines work. Phil Sell taking the wide line into 3. He's going to look to get the wide line into 4 to get the run out of the corner. The bounce and clatter over the curbs there, but I think Rogers has got this one sewn up for now, and he's holding on to that lead here. So Rogers into the lead, championship leader, rather controversially now, up into the lead here, but we'll have to let that one be dealt with by the stewards. But Connery, he's got the pace that he can pull away from Jared.
Yeah, that's definitely what the overall option will be here in this situation between these two drivers. It's going to be a case now that Rogers, I think, is going to pull away. I don't think the draft is going to be strong enough for Phil Sell to keep himself in contention here. I have been wrong before, but Rogers has been so strong over the course of this race that I would not bet against him at all. So with the time that we have remaining, around about 9 minutes, I think we'll be seeing yet another Joshua Rogers win. But I hope for the sake of the racing that Phil Sell can keep up.
Absolutely, it would be great to have a great finish like we had, and we've had in previous races in this championship. You are watching the Porsche Esports Super Cup here on the iRacing Esports Network. Thank you very much for joining us. It's certainly been some really good action here today. A little bit of contact here and there as well, but we're looking at this battle here between the number 1 car, Tommy Østgaard, and Sebastian Job. This is 7th and 8th place. Loitering in the background of those two, you just see him there, just coming to shot, was Max Benecke. He's in 9th place on a recovery drive after his qualifying penalty. And look ahead, Job is making the move. He's lining up, and Tommy is going to hold the inside line there. Locks up his brake, does Tommy Østgaard. Job now trying to get that cut back, trying the different lines here, as we've mentioned a few times throughout this part of the track. Well, Job trying to go to the inside. Østgaard defending that move and defending it late, and that's brought Benecke into this. And right now, if you're Tommy Østgaard, you're trying to get Benecke involved this one to slow down Job so he can try and pull away.
Yeah, that could be the overall objective here. It's the advantage, unfortunately, when we have a sort of series where, yes, it is solo drivers in terms of the points, but there are team allegiances going on. So, you know, stuff like this can and does happen, and you can just see how Østgaard's making life difficult. But there we go. Actually, further back, Graham Carroll having a little bit of a battle with, I believe this is Jack Cedric, on the way up to the Michael Schumacher S's. Then side by side through here. We've seen it once before. We'll see it again, and they're able to keep it clean all the way through. Here comes Jamie Fluke then on the outside as he heads his way up through turn 11, door to door between the two of them through there, and Jack Cedric still able to hold position here. There's Moritz Laguna that's trying to tag onto the back of this battle, same with Kevin Ellis Jr. as well. Through the dust and debris they go on the way up to the NGK chicane. Then we're actually riding on the board with one of the drivers here. It's going to be up into the NGK chicane. You can see this driver is currently 2nd in line, so this is going to be 3rd in line, excuse me. So this is Jamie Fluke, as you'll get to see his race cam on the right hand side. You see the battling ahead of him as well. Graham Carroll versus Cedric on the way down towards turn 1. Not a lot of time left in this race to be able to make these moves work, but Cedric then inside line for turn 1. Late on the brakes he goes. Is he able to secure the position? He is for the apex, but needs to clear it on the exit of the corner as well. Fluke's looking to get himself involved here over the driver of Graham Carroll in that Red Bull Racing Esports car, but Jamie Fluke, as part of Apex Racing team, can't really find a gap here in this sort of situation. Desperately looking for one, but not able to capitalize on anything he's been handed so far.
this queue of cars. It's a Scotsman, a Northern Irishman, an Englishman, a German, another Scotsman, and Finnish driver as we look forward as well, because Beneke, he's been trying to make moves, and Sebastian Job at the start of this lap, it didn't work out for him, so he's still stuck behind in 9th place, but he wants those championship points. They all count towards the end of the season, and Beneke now, as they're going uphill through the Schumacher S, you can see his lap times, his last 2 laps, almost 0.7 of a second quicker than Sebastian Job in his last 2 laps. So these two, they're in a queue, stuck behind Tommy Østgaard, who's doing a really sterling job there to keep in 7th place for the time being, but this gap has broken out behind Patrick Holtzman, between him and Østgaard, because Østgaard is having to defend so much, it's slowing himself down. Into the chicane they go once again, then late braking, sling it into the left and then the right, up over the curb for the primary line into the final right-hander. We're just under 5 minutes remaining in this feature race here, and well, these drivers going across the line. You can see the top 8 at the bottom of the screen. Rogers, Phil Sell, De Jong, that's your podium. They're going to end up winning money if they stay in that order. David Williams, Alejandro Sanchez, Patrick Holtzman, and then this battle, Østgaard, Job, and just off of that graphic right there is Max Beneke. Don't forget, your race winner in this one will be $1,000 richer, with 2nd and 3rd place also getting prize money in this feature race. So there's more than just points at play here. It's a little bit of cold hard cash for those drivers, but we'll stay on board with Sebastian Job. Then is going into turn number 5 here, Connery. He's been stuck behind Tommy for quite a while. He'll be starting to think, I need to make a move and make it happen now.
Yeah, that is going to be the aim for Sebastian Job right now. Of course, he has been has been on the unfortunate side of an incident already, and looks to try and get involved here with Tommy Østgaard, the Norwegian, coming through the Dunlop curve. You just see the twitch on the exit of the corner that Sebastian Job had to manage, and now up through the Schumacher S. Can't really do much coming through here, just look to get the best run possible and then have a look maybe into turn 11. You can see the body language of Job's car means that he is definitely looking for every single opportunity to try and slot himself through, but Østgaard's putting his car in all of the right positions for now. A little bit further back, you do have a bit of a train as well, involving a good couple of cars here. If I have to cycle myself all the way back to this one, we're on board with Jamie Fluke right now as he tries to tag onto the back of the train ahead of him, involving Sedgwick, Carroll, etc. So a couple of bits of action going on out there on circuit. A good couple of different places. 3 minutes to go here, Paul.
Yeah, absolutely. These drivers still battling out. They still want to get the points here in this championship, because points mean positions in a future series as well. Sedgwick is trying to make moves on Graham Carroll, and ahead of them you saw tyre smoke, and that's from the battle ahead of them, because we've got side-by-side action just in front, and that's Sebastian Job, Beneke and Østgaard as well ahead of them. We could keep on seeing the tyre smoke, and that's why Sebastian Job has made it through finally in the arena section. And here comes Beneke. He doesn't want to hang around. He wants to tag onto the back of Job here, try and make up another position. Contact between the two of them. Off the track goes Beneke. How does it keep it in a straight line? But here comes Jeremy Bootloop now. Another man trying to make moves, and that's going to drop Beneke down a position here as they go into the Dunlop hairpin. Well, drama for Beneke near the end of the race. That could have turned out so much worse than it was, but in the end of the day, Beneke loses the position there, Connery.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see the replay up on screen. You can see the door budge in between the Red Bull and the Coanda car going through turn 1, and similarly so door rubbing coming through turn 2, as well as Beneke tries to file his way through on whoever will be the victor in this particular battle. As you can see, he follows the Red Bull Racing Esports car through on the inside for 3, outside for 4. Isn't really ideal though, as Østgaard slots himself ahead, and now Beneke, desperate for points in this championship, looks around the outside at the left. He's very much entitled to do so, but door barging on the exit is going to put him behind just a little bit here. He's still on the live pictures, very much involved in this battle. So I think now tempers will start to flare with a minute to go.
It's to start the final lap then. It's Joshua Rogers in the lead by 1.1 seconds ahead of Jared Philsell. Philsell's coming under pressure from Mitchell de Jong, who's in second and third place. We see the battle with Beneke still going on here into turn number 1. And, well, these Coanda cars are bullying him about on the track. He has to get on the brakes mid-corner, does Beneke. And this is all getting a little bit desperate here through the arena section. Beneke down the inside, tries to throw his nose in there. That scared boot loop off the track. They're almost pushing each other, door banging, but Beneke does make it back ahead up into 9th place. Boot loop has a look down the inside. That's not going to happen there, but Beneke has to go really defensive into turn number 6. On the exit now, he gets on the power. He pulls away from boot loop for the time being, so he can just look forward a little bit, but I don't think he'll be gaining enough of position here. But well, you can see the leaders up, the top 3 up on your the left-hand side of your screen as they're heading towards the end of the lap as well. So those drivers have sorted themselves out, and well, Joshua Rogers, it's a little bit of a questionable one that got him into second place. The move for the lead, though, wasn't questionable at all, as he's coming through the kink in towards the chicane for the final time. You've got Philsell and de Jong behind, battling it out, but it's going to be Josh Rogers, the Australian, coming into the final corner once again, and it's going to be another Australian who will take a win, and it's going to be 3 feature race wins for Josh Rogers across the line here in the Porsche Esports Super Cup. What a win, $1,000 richer ahead of Jared Philsell. Mitchell de Jong wasn't able to finish it off in 3rd place. Williams 4th ahead of Alejandro Sanchez. Rest of your field are coming across the line, and there's still
40 of the best sim racers. $100,000 on the line. Who will rise to the challenge? This is the most competitive iRacing World Championship. This is where legends are made. This is the Porsche Esports Super Cup.
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the penultimate round of the Porsche Esports Super Cup for 2019. Welcome to WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna, Seca in Salinas, USA. And well, we've only got 2 rounds of the championship to go, but these are going to be 2 incredible rounds. We start off here at the 2.2 mile racetrack that is WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. You can see the track conditions, they are up on your screen as we speak. It's a nice, cool and calm day today, but it is not cool and calm when it comes to the championship. It is very exciting, and it is still the driver of Joshua Rogers from Australia who is leading the way in terms of those championship standings. There is the graphic up on your screen right now, and you note the fact that he's got an 87-point advantage over the German driver of Max Beneke and the American of Mitchell de Jong, the hometown hero for today. He is in 3rd place, 121 points back. And well, we've had ourselves a little bit of a break in the Porsche Esports Super Cup. It is 3 weekends worth of racing on the bounce here, because next week we have ourselves a very special event at IAA Frankfurt. We'll tell you more about that one later on. And of course, the last round of the championship at Monza is in just 2 weeks' time. So only 4 races now remaining. Of course, 2, the sprint race and the feature race today, then 2 races, the sprint and the feature at Monza to go. But as we just turn our attention over to that Australian driver of Joshua Rogers. Him and Max Benecke, they had themselves a little bit of a falling out a couple of weeks ago at Sim Racing Expo, but it is the Australian driver who is leading the way for Coanda Sim Sports in the championship right now. Rogers has been absolutely exceptional all season, but here is his closest rival. It is that German driver of Max Benecke. 85 points in the balance, and that does mean that anything still can happen here. As we say, it is Mitchell de Jong, the American, who runs himself in that third position. As we see him there, this is all footage, some great footage from the start of the season for Coanda Sim Sports. But we go back to live pictures here, and we just think briefly about the track, about the connotations and everything that is at stake. Of course, we've got to remember that this is Laguna Seca, and it wouldn't be Laguna Seca unless we talked about the corkscrew. Let's hand it over to your commentators, Paul Smith and Connery Maddock. And, well, Paul, it is time to talk about the corkscrew.
It certainly is, and it's the predominant feature of this track here at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. But hello everybody, 7 weeks we've been away on the summer break. I've had a lovely break, but I've been chomping at a bit to get back into this series, and what a venue we have got for you today. It's one of the classic circuits here in North America, in California, and well, we've been talking about the championship and the connotations. Myself and Connery last night, after we did a broadcast last night, we were looking at the connotations, and Connery, 73 points more Joshua Rogers has to score than Max Benecke this week to round it up a week early.
Yeah, absolutely. So knowing that that is a possibility will be a great comfort, I suppose, to Joshua Rogers, that he is leading by such a margin at this stage. But still, he can't step a foot out of line during this race at all, because if he gets cycled towards the back in any way, that means Benecke is going to be very well within striking distance when it comes to that final round at Monza. So he could have a big old showdown when it comes to that race if the points are within 10 or 20. So I can't wait to get this one started. I can't wait to get that one in a couple of weeks' time started either. But I think we have to take baby steps first.
Absolutely. You see the conditions then. It is a cool track here. We're heading into the evening as well, so we're going to be getting some lovely sunset shots of these cars in that golden Californian light. But qualifying, well, it is starting, and these drivers, they've only got themselves 8 minutes to score a qualifying lap time, and one of those drivers that's looking to do well here this week is Sebastian Job. He is currently on the start of his first flying lap here. Connery, why don't you just take us through the rest of this course?
Yeah, absolutely. Sebastian Job driving in that number 13 car. He's heading his way down and towards turn 5 right now. Big wide arc into the corner, very much a medium to high speed corner. Just look for that exit curb. You can't exit too far out of that one though. Otherwise you'd be into the dirt and debris through the kink, one of the trickiest corners at this racetrack. If you deviate from the perfect line coming through there by any amount, one, you're going to slow down a huge amount, or you're going to be in the dirt. Now up to the most famous portion of the racetrack, the corkscrew. The elevation change coming through here is absolutely insane as you drop down and you continue to drop down, coming through turn 9 on the limit of grip here in these cars through that particular turn, and then into the Otten Camber, turn 10. Then there you can carry a lot more speed than you expect coming down through there, and then heavy on the brakes into that final turn. Sebastian Job just clipping the apex curb just a little bit, not going to affect him too much in the grand scheme of things. Just the run to the line now for the British driver, a 1:22.401. Of course, he is the only lap time that's been set so far, so obviously provisional pole position, but let's see how the other drivers shape up. Alejandro Sanchez beats him to the punch with a 1:22.178 there. David Williams and Marin Cholik will fall in behind. So good laps there from Sanchez and Job so far, but we're still yet to see the likes of Benecke and Rogers.
Well, speaking of Benecke, the German is out the final corner now, coming across the line. What's his first qualifying lap going to be? It's not going to be there because it is the start. That was the end of his outlap, so he's delayed his qualifying to start with, using the tactic that a few of the drivers like to use. See what qualifying lap times are up on the board, and then get it in there. Jared Phil-Sell, second place in qualifying so far. Few others still yet to complete their out laps, and one of those that's famous for it is of course Martin Kronke. He's further down. Josh Rogers we see there, he is on an out lap as well. So a lot of drivers leaving this one until a little bit later, maybe just seeing how other drivers find it in terms of lap time, and then going out on their hot lap. But they're running out of time here, only 3 minutes 45 remaining in qualifying.
Yeah, absolutely. So a good couple of drivers yet to set themselves their first flying laps here. We do, of course, have Maxim Benecke. He's coming towards the final sector of his particular lap here, coming up through turn 9, and of course hitting in towards turn 10 as well. I'm very interested to see where Max Benecke is able to get himself on the grid here. Remember, we do have that reverse grid for race 1 for the top 8 drivers, so the top 8 will get shuffled around. Everyone else will stay where they are in terms of the starting grid here today. Across the line, Maximilian Benecke goes at 1:22.475, and that is only going to be good enough for 6th place on the grid. Well, not on the grid, but 6th place in qualifying. That'll end up bumping him a little bit up, but by the time the race arrives, Patrick Holtzman just squeaks through as well.
Absolutely, as we will look forward. The American Mitchell de Jong, it's a hometown boy. No, it's not Bronski Beat, it is Mitchell de Jong. Oh, running out wide there over the dirt then. Hopefully he won't be picking up a instant point there, but he's going to have to push on because time is of the essence as he heads on up the hill. Hard onto the brake, so easy to snatch a brake into there. Through the left, then the right. That plunge, I believe it's 4 stories down is that plunge, that initial plunge, but you carry on going downhill through the rainy curve. So definitely these drivers are seeing this elevation change here. Benecke currently in that hot seat of 8th place, but through the final corner then for Mitchell de Jong, what's his lap time going to be? He's going to cross that timing beam now, 1:22.4, and that's going to put him up into 8th place. So 8th place at the moment for Mitchell de Jong. Josh Rogers, by the way, just casually puts in the fastest time.
Yep, just casually a 1:22.169, which actually isn't all that much faster than Alejandro Sanchez. So Sanchez in that Spanish-driven car, I suppose, is doing very, very well late on in the season. We picked up on how good of a performance he had at the Nürburgring, for example. So continuing on that run of form here for the penultimate round of the season, on board then with Gregor Hutu as part of Team Redline, one of the most historic sim racing teams. Looks to get himself a good qualifying here today. We also saw Marin Cholak as well in that Logitech G Altus Esports car. So it's good to see in this particular series you have some of the newer teams that have arrived over the past year or two. Oh, Cholak's got himself into the wall. That's unfortunate for him, so he won't be able to complete his qualifying here. But with 1 minute left in this one, Paul, still a little bit of a squabble over that P8 spot.
Absolutely. Currently Graham Carroll sits in it. He's got no more times left in him, so he's just going to sit there and wait because, of course, as you mentioned there, the top 8 inverted for the first sprint race here in this championship. It's been like that all season, but across the line there, Mitchell de Jong, does he improve his time? Yes, he does. A 22.3 moves him up into 3rd place on the grid. Great time there from Mitchell. Thomas Tatala, brilliant time there, up into 6th place as well for him. So some really good lap times coming out of these drivers now. But as that clock ticks down, these drivers now, they've pretty much all set their lap times here. So we'll be heading towards the at the end of qualifying here. Alexander Thebe was at the end of the lap here, but it's not going to count because he's going to run out of time before he crosses the line. So then, that is the end of your qualifying. The top 8 are inverted. So for the grid here in this race, it is Sebastian Job who is on pole position in this race ahead of Jeremy Bootloop in 2nd place. Tumas Tahatala in third place. Great job for the Finnish driver there ahead of Gregor Hutu. Jared Filsell, the Australian, in fifth with Mitchell de Jong sixth. Alejandro Sanchez seventh with Josh Rogers eighth place. And Alexander Thieb ninth. Graham Carroll 10th place. Tommy Erstgaard, Patrick Holtzman, the next two on the grid with Max Benecke down in 13th. He'll be disappointed with that. Marcus Jensen, Ricardo Castro-Ledo, Antoine Hugela, Matt Kroenke, Jamie Fluke, David Williams and Niels Koch round out your top 20, and then the rest of your field: Jack Sedgwick, Kevin Ellis Jr., Marin Cherlak, Priscillis Georgis, Sebastian Dunkel, Kazuki Umashima, Ilka Harpla, Dion Verges, and then the two drivers who did not set a time, Yavaz and Bobby Zelensky. But we're getting all set now for the start of this race, and this is where the drivers have just their last few moments to prepare to get ready for the start of this one. And Sebastian Job, we've seen him win races from the front of the grid with the inverse grid. Don't forget, he did win both the races, both the feature race and the sprint race at Silverstone a couple of rounds ago. So he knows what it's like to start from the front and to lead all the way. But with Jeremy Bootloop alongside, he's got an opportunity here to get a win for that driver. Now, all the drivers are on the grid. They're going to be looking at the gantry, looking for the green light. Green light is on. Away we go then for the sprint race here in round number 9 of the Porsche Esports Supercup. Heading down towards the first hairpin, the Andretti hairpin. Hard onto the brakes. They're going to be cold brakes, cold tyres for these drivers to contend with. And Jeremy Bootloop just that little bit wide. It's going to allow Tatala to be able to look on the inside, but he's going to be on the outside for the right-hander here. Through the go. Sebastian Job, great start for him. He's pulled out a gap. Alejandro Sanchez has lost a couple of positions. There's a big accident further behind as well, and that's involved Marcus Jensen and Patrick Holtzman in that one. So big dramas for them. Ricardo Castro-Ledo is another driver involved in that incident down at turn number 3. But as they head on up the hill, there's yet more incident happening towards the rear of your field. So drivers having a lot of issues. Kazuki Mashima involved in that one. But Job leading from Bootloop ahead of Tatala, then Hutu, De Jong, Filsell, Rogers, Carroll and Sanchez, with Benecke right behind Sanchez. Benecke needs to get a shift on. He needs to gain as many positions as possible in this race to try and get with his championship rival Joshua Rogers. We've got another incident further back with Martin Kroenke involved. I believe Kevin Ellis Jr. was in that one as well. But we're heading towards the end of lap 1.
Oh, that's Gregor Hutu up into basically the pit lane there. A big accident there down at the final corner of the lap. It was Hutu trying to defend from Mitchell de Jong and gets themselves into a little bit of a tangle. A hard impact there for Gregor Hutu right at the end of lap number 1. So many drivers here having early race incidents inside the first lap here. Most of them towards the back of the field, but there's a fair few midfield runners in that one as well.
Well, I mean, there's 5 drivers who have had to head themselves down onto pit road already in this race, and that's going to be seriously affecting their second race of the day, the feature race round here. And it is a tricky track to overtake at here, as Max Benecke, 9th place, is behind Alejandro Sanchez. And I will say that Sanchez has come on so well to say that he's pretty much doing it on his own as the Spaniard, and he's done a fantastic job in the second half of the season. But Benecke, he knows that he can't risk any incidents. He can't get involved in any silly incidents because he needs the points. But at the end of the day, he also needs to move forward here, Connery.
Yeah, and what has really hurt Max Benecke here is he missed out getting himself inside that top 8, so he can be shuffled a little bit further up the field for the start of this event. A little bit of a move going on into the final corner. Joshua Rogers on the inside of Jared Filsell. This is a battle that we've seen time and time again between the two Australians. Drag race then down the pit straight and then into the Mario Andretti hairpin for the third time in this event. Rogers, is he typical late on the brakes into here? A little bit more tentative, doesn't want to overshoot the corner, and he's able to squeak past Phil Sell. And meanwhile, there's a bit of swap of position a little bit further back as well. I believe that was with the cars of Beneke Fluke, as Beneke tries to work his way through on those guys and try to lock onto the back of that Quad Sim Sports car that's also making up positions ahead.
Yep, so many drivers with things to do and to positions to gain in this race, but it's Sebastian Job who's got a 7/10 second lead over Jeremy Bootloop. Thomas Tatala in third place is only just ahead of Mitchell de Jong, just a couple of tenths between the two of them. So it's Finland versus United States right here as the head-on plunging down the hill in the corkscrew once again for the third time in this sprint race. Already we've had 4 minutes of this 15-minute race go on by, and de Jong looking, he's wanting to get a position, and Tatala going defensive here then, trying to make it road position count, and so far it is working, but he's a bit of a corkscrew here. Well, not corkscrew, but he's a bit of a bung in the in this field, because he's holding up a few of the drivers here as de Jong round the outside. You can make that work if you can hold it round the outside, but he doesn't get to keep the overlap there. He's going to look to the inside of the next corner though. Well, to Thomas, what are you doing? You kind of left yourself open to attack there, but he's going to hold it side by side through the next right-hander at turn number 4. You can do that, and that's giving him the inside, and here comes Rogers. Does he make it 3 wide? No, he doesn't, but all these drivers are slowing each other up, and de Jong has made it ahead. Rogers trying to follow through around the outside, and Phil Sell is looking to make moves here.
Too wide into the kink there. Rogers only just able to keep that on circuit. He's still not able to fully slot himself ahead until now. Does Tatella have another go at him coming up through towards the corkscrew? There's Rogers. He's been punted at the corkscrew. Oh, it's an absolute mess coming through the downhill section. Oh, Joshua Rogers, he's going to be cycled to the back now. Beneke, is he involved in this one? I'm just going to have a look. Beneke, he looks like he's been able to get through unscathed. This is a big moment.
Yeah, that absolute chaos at the corkscrew then, and it was Tatala who got into the back of Rogers that kicked it off. Well, Rogers is going to have some big damage there, because he copped a few shots from other drivers in that one. We're looking at replays of it as well at the moment as the race goes on, but that's a huge implications for the championship, because Rogers, he needs to make sure he gets as high a position finishing as possible, but right now he's 23rd in this race. He's got damage to the front left there as he makes a move on Kazuki Mishima. But now the front foot is certainly for Max Beneke, who's in 4th place in this race. That's worked out nicely for Max.
Yeah, it really has, and he got through by the skin of his teeth as well. It seems like the wreck, it just parted like the Red Sea, and he's able to slot himself through all the way through in the middle of it. We'll get the replay up on screen for you now from the view of the German. You can just see the carnage happening ahead of him. He's somehow able to get away. A little bit of a bang towards the right-hand side, but that hasn't caused him much damage.
No, he's got away lucky with that one as Max, that's for sure, as they're heading through towards the end of lap 5. But the important thing for Rogers is that he is still running and he's still going to be scoring some championship points. But look at that gap at the front now. Sebastian Job 1.5 seconds ahead of Jeremy Bootloop. He's absolutely dominating the first half of this sprint race here. And Bootloop, well, he's in a good position. He doesn't need to try and push too hard. He's got a solid position here and try to move forward to make some ground, but he's on for a good starting position, of course, because the feature race is basically the results of this race for the grid. So a few drivers trying to get as good a position as possible. Antoine Hijla, he is in 7th place behind Tommy Erstgaard. So it's France versus Norway here as they go through the left, up the hill towards the kink. Graham Carroll's not that far behind them either. He's joined in the fray with this one, Connery. So these drivers, we've seen how easy it is to get involved in a big wreck right there on the last couple of laps, but still, overtaking is extremely difficult round here, as it's proven to show.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's why some of these drivers are just trying to get aggressive with it. They know how difficult it is, and if they can force the issue to try and find their way through, then that'll be maybe a couple of positions gained for them, maybe at the eye of the stewards though. But in towards the final corner for this group that's currently fighting for P6 out there on Seca, on the roof of the Scotsman of Graham Carroll as he gets the double toe here down in towards turn 1. You can still see the big train of cars there going on for your mid-pack as well. No moves being made just yet in towards turn 1, but the longer this race goes and as we get towards those final laps of this sprint race, we'll start to see a little bit more battling once again. Speaking of a little bit more battling, there's lots of battling going down across the start-finish line now. It's under Thebe on the inside of Rogers there. That's more like Rogers trying to go around the outside of Thebe, but there we go. Ohumashima also trying to battle it out with the Sorgrensport Esports car, the German of Sebastian Dunkel as well. Rogers trying to force his way through on Thebe right now. So this is an interesting one concerning the PRT Coanda rivalry. So how much trouble does Thebe want to make for Rogers here?
Well, he's not going to move over and just let Rogers through, that's for sure. He wants to help his teammate out. You know, even though it is an individual championship, and we keep on saying this, if Thebe can hold up Josh Rogers for as long as possible, and maybe even cause Rogers to make a mistake and have another incident, that'll help his compatriot in his stable to get a good result in this race. Through the corkscrew they go once again, and Rogers, he's hindered by damage, but so too is Alexander with the heavy front end damage to his Porsche 911 GT3 Cup car. Through the right-hander into the final corner. Is Rogers going to throw one down the inside? No, he's going to stay behind because he can use... This is the best place to use the slipstream, is along the start and finish straight through turn number 1, which is this little kink right here, coming up here now. So through 1, down into the Andretti hairpin, which is turn 2. Rogers looking to the outside again. Can he get the cut back? No, he can't. It's not going to happen for him.
Nope, it's not. So Rogers really feeling the damage there, and looking at it cosmetically, it looks like Rogers has less damage here than Alexander Thebe, but Thebe still is keeping the pace in his car right now. So you know, a lot more bodywork damage, but I think a lot less mechanical damage underneath all the bodywork there for Alexander Thebe could be the issue between those two that's going on right now. We're on board with Niels Koch here as he tries to hunt down Thomas Detal. He's getting aggressed from behind as well, because that's David Williams in one of the other VRS Quantum sports cars, the British driver, also involved in this battle right behind as well. You can see the damage on the car of Niels Koch as well for that Williams Esports team. So a lot of cars are battered and bruised coming towards the end of this race. It's only a front couple of runners really that have been able to get away with not a lot of damage, but into the final corner then, and coming up across towards that start finish line once again. It's going to be 3 minutes and 45 seconds left in this race. Just a couple more laps to go to sort out all the differences here for the sprint race of this afternoon. And again, no one close enough again to be able to make moves in towards turn 1. Everyone's starting to spread out at this stage. Here comes Rogers and Thebe. Then Rogers finally has found an inside line there for turn 1. Can he complete it on the brakes? People tried to fight it on the outside. Is there a cutback move available for that stricken BRT car? The answer to that one's going to be no. So Rogers picks up a couple more points in the sprint race.
Yeah, so Thebe was thinking about it and decided against throwing one in there, the German. So Josh Rogers now on his recovery drive up to 19th, but all of that has held him up there. And I think it might be a little bit of a struggle for him to gain any more position, because he's 2.5 seconds behind Marcus Jensen in that Team Redline car. So definitely Josh Rogers, I think, is going to be pretty much down there in 19th for the end of this one, unless he gets anybody from behind make some moves. But looking forward then, Jamie Flug on the tail of Max Benecke. I mean, talk about a turn in fortune here for Jamie. Started this race in 18th place. Terrible qualifying from him. He'll be more than happy for me to say that about his qualifying there. But look at this, how this is how a race like this, a sprint race like this, can just turn in your favour.
Absolutely, it's the same story for both Max Benecke and Jamie Fluke. So absolutely awesome stuff from Jamie. I know, he's talked to me before about how disappointed in some of the results that he gets here. Sometimes he gets decent qualifyings, but just has an unfortunate run of things during the actual racing side of things here on these Saturday afternoons. But finally, he may have just caught a break. I'm just going to touch wood just in case something happens to him. And he'll probably thank me for that one, but there we go. Benecke is still holding strong ahead of Fluke at this moment in time. Still, for Fluke, a top 5 finish would just be a welcome respite from what's happened earlier on in the season.
Well, I mean, looking at his results from the start of the season, as we look back at the Hijla and Carroll battle, is that Fluke has had 2 podiums in this championship, so he can do it, and he can do the job in terms of the sprint races. Those were podiums, so he has got the ability and pace there. But we'll look at this battle. It is France versus Scotland, and Graham Carroll, he'll be determined to move up as many positions as he can right now, because he'll be wanting as good a result for himself to give him the best chance in the feature race. Across the line they go. Time is running out. In fact, we're going to be into the final lap of the race here, and these drivers, time's running out. I don't really see, unless there's going to be a mad dive, I don't really see any positions really changing in this one.
There was one just right at the back there, the battle between David Williams and Niels Koch. So that's Williams through, the British driver over the German, and Jack Cedric, also another Brit, right on the back of this one as well. So Koch is almost going to fall foul here to maybe losing 2 positions here on one of the final laps of the race. We've got around about 15 seconds remaining. Jobs just heading his way up into the corkscrew now as your race leader. So this is the final lap here, you'd have to say, for your runners out here today for the sprint race. So Sebastian Job, a great performance, and well, again, still a couple of swaps of position further back. Cedric down the inside of Niels Koch, but Job's coming to the line.
Yeah, Sebastian Job then, he's previously won sprint races at Silverstone just a couple of rounds ago, and he's going to get another sprint race win here in the Porsche Esports Supercup across the line here at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. Jeremy Bootloop, 2nd place, and ahead of Mitchell de Jong, the Californian, in 3rd, with Max Benecke come across the line, 4th place. That's crucial for him for the championship. Fluke in 5th place. Battle is still just finishing off throughout your field, so no real changes of position, but well, I'm saying no real changes of position. Let's have a look at Jack Sedgwick and Niels Koch as they went into the corkscrew, because those two were side by side through there, and it was a little bit dicey, shall we say.
Yeah, a little bit of dueling between the 2 drivers. It is what we love to see, though, but Koch is going to come out on top of that one. So that's going to be a P11 secured there for the German driver of that Williams Esports team outfit. But here are your official race results here for the sprint race at Laguna Seca.
Yeah, Sebastian Job then, your race winner in the sprint race ahead of Jeremy Bootloop, 2nd, Mitchell de Jong rounded off the podium there. Max Benecke, 4th, ahead of Jamie Fluke in 5th. Tommy Erstgaard, 6th place where he started. No, it's not where he started. 6th place from 11th, not bad for him. Antoine Hijla and Graham Carroll with Thomas Tatala and David Williams rounding out your top 10. Niels Koch with Jack Sedgwick there, Bobby Zelensky, Pasturgis, Yao Vaz, Ilka Harpala, 16th ahead of Kevin Ellis Jr., Marcus Jensen, Josh Rogers with a recovery drive then after the incident earlier on in 19th, with Alexander Thebe 20th, Sebastian Dunkel, Dion Verges, Kazuki Mishima, all the last cars running, and then drivers all out the race. Alejandro Sanchez, Patrick Holtzman, Jared Filsell, Marin Cholak, Gregor Hutu, Ricardo Castroledo, and Martin Kroenke, Will.
Thank you very much, Paul. Thank you very much, Connery. And wow, what a first race we've had here in the Porsche Esports Super Cup. Of course, the biggest story of the lot, Paul, is going to be that of, Josh Rogers. The Australian driver is now going to have to do a very, very determined drive if he's going to get anything out of this weekend. And for us, it's good, because as it stands, the championship will go to the final round.
Well, the last time he started a feature race this far down was at Mossport, and of course he got caught up in an incident near the start of that race back in week 5 of this championship, would you believe? So, you know, it shows that incidents can happen, and this is quite a tight track, so it's going to be difficult for him to make those moves. We have seen that he can do it, but you've got to work at it, and I think he's not going to maybe gain as many positions as quickly as he would, say, a different track like the Nürburgring.
Yeah, this driver, though, is going to be a little bit happier. It is Max Benecke for Pure Racing Team. He's actually going to be one of 6 drivers racing on stage at IAA Frankfurt in a week's time. You've got yourselves Joshua Rogers, you've got Martin Kroenke, Mitchell de Jong, Max Benecke, Patrick Holtzman and Sebastian Job will be racing on stage at the IAA Frankfurt special event, which is going to be very interesting, Connor, because it's exactly the same stage that Porsche launched their first ever fully electric road car.
Yeah, absolutely. So that would be a brilliant experience there for those drivers to be able to do that. But I get the feeling now with more and more of these LAN events coming that these top drivers at least will just start to get used to it. It was always a talking point whenever we did a decent sized LAN like the Sim Racing Expo. We were talking about how this is a lot of drivers haven't competed on the stage before and how that will affect them mentally with the crowd watching them. But with some of these drivers now, it's just become second nature to them, and I like to, that's awesome to see in sim racing that we're getting more and more of those sorts of events. Of course, it's only 6 drivers going to Frankfurt. The rest of them will stay at home and race from things remotely onto the server, but it is certainly a very, very positive sign of things to come for Porsche to be promoting sim racing in this way.
Yeah, and Porsche want your views as well. We'll put the link up in a couple of moments' time, but visit go.racebot.tv/survey. There is a chance for you to even win a little bit of Porsche headphoneness in exchange for your views and feedback. That driver, though, out front, Sebastian Job, he's not looking for some headphones today. He's looking to win $1,000, which of course goes to the winner of the feature race every single round this year. Red Bull Racing Esports, they are looking strong once again. The only thing for that British driver is, can he deal with the pressure on what is going to be a very, very exciting feature race coming up in, about 90 seconds time. So without further ado, Paul Connery, back to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Will. So, we're running out of time for these drivers to affect their championship and to put challenges in and to secure places in this championship as well, because drivers will be wanting to do that in these last 2 rounds, that's for sure. But the warm-up, well, it's pretty much over. You can see the conditions on screen, and these drivers will be getting themselves set for heading on to the grid. So it's at this point that we'll then get the graphics up on screen and be able to give you your starting lineup in this feature race here at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca, in the Porsche Esports Supercup. It's Sebastian Job on pole position, Jeremy Bootloop second, with Mitchell de Jong third. Max Benecke, good position for him in 4th, ahead of Jamie Fluke, Tommy Erstgaard, and then Antoine Hichler with Graham Carroll, Thomas Titella. He was involved in an incident with Josh Rogers, and David Williams ran out the top 10. Rest of your field are on the screen. Of course, we went through these with the results of the last race because it is a complete copy of the results of the last race, that sprint race here today. But drivers getting themselves onto the grid. Time's running out for them to prepare, so now they just head onto that grid and wait for the green light. Drivers now getting the warning, getting the opportunity. The engine revs rise. And it's the start of this feature race in the Porsche Esports Supercup. What a launch from Jeremy Bootloop in second place then. Is going to be challenges Sebastian Job down into the Andretti hairpin for the first time. Onto the brakes, still not able to make it ahead of Job, but Bootloop, the Frenchman, has got Mitchell de Jong coming up with him, trying to make some moves and not making those positions just yet. We have got an instant further downfield, and well, fortunately for our championship leader, he's not one of those involved in that, but so easy that this could be the opportunity for some big points to be scored for Max Benecke in this championship. Job trying to go a little bit defensive there up the hill in towards the left-hander. Don't know why he felt the need to do that, but we're heading up towards the corkscrew for the first time in this feature race. Onto the brakes, left, and then right, and around goes Graham Carroll. Carroll's around at the corkscrew. Will everyone avoid him? It does look like they do. Oh, driver caught up with a slowdown penalty. It's championship leader Joshua Rogers. He's dropping back down to 22nd in this race. Absolute nightmare. Not what he wanted to happen. But look at the queue of cars in front of him going into the hairpin. That is incredible to see. But this is... well, it's going to be a really tough task now for Joshua to make his way forward. He's in 20th place as he goes across the line.
More traffic than the average rush hour on the M25 there, coming through the final corner, now in towards turn number 1. Still multiple instances of side-by-side there. We're riding on board with your championship leaders. He tries to file through on his absolute mess ahead of him, down the inside of Alejandro Sanchez there. So Sanchez hasn't had the best start to the race in this one, as Rogers squeaks his way through just on that inside line. A couple more points going the way of Rogers. He so desperately needs every single one that he can get. Lest Benecke will be too close for comfort coming into that final round.
He was saying on social media that he was feeling good going into this round with Joshua Rogers, the Australian, but right now he's under the cosh. He's got the pressure on him, and this is where championships can be won or lost. Looking forward in your field though, Sebastian Job has got a 6/10 of a second lead. The Englishman ahead of the Frenchman Jeremy Bootloop, with the American Mitchell de Jong in third place, but Benecke right behind de Jong is putting the pressure on. Sebastian Job's feeling the need to try and break the draft here in these early portions of the race. Of course, half an hour race here for these drivers, so they're going to be going in to the sunset of the day here, and these drivers pushing on throughout this race as we look back at some of the action here. But Max Benecke, fourth place. He'll be wanted desperately, Connery, to get ahead of Mitchell de Jong, because de Jong is, of course, a championship rival.
Yeah, I mean, having a look at the points coming into this one, de Jong was only around about 35 or so points off of Benecke, so it isn't panic stations here for Benecke just yet. De Jong only finished one place ahead of him in the sprint race and currently stands only one place ahead of him in the feature race. It will be close, but I don't think if you're Maxime Benecke that you can go for anything aggressive at this stage. You're already gaining a boatload of points over Joshua Rogers. You can't put that at risk.
Looking at Kevin Ellis Jr. then, right behind Bobby Zelensky on track as they head into the corkscrew, and he's certainly putting the pressure on the Scotsman. He's having a bit of a difficult race this time out in the mid-pack for that Apex Racing Team driver, but Kevin will be pushing on. He's got compatriot and teammates behind, or close behind, in Gerard Filsell, just behind Yao Vaz. So these drivers, they're pushing on and they're keeping the battle on here, as well as Filsell looking to try and make moves on Yao Vaz as into the Andretti hairpin. This, of course, is turn 2 as we've got an incident. And
Rogers again.
Josh Rogers once again. Around he goes into the gravel trap, and well, there's going to be a lot of talk about this race, about how this championship has come alive. Yes, Holtzman late on the brakes, and it's front to rear contact into the hairpin there, Connery.
Yeah, there we go. Joshua Rogers spun in the middle of traffic as well. So Rogers, just as he needed basically an okay race, it has all gone wrong for him like it did at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. There's the bit of contact there between himself and Holtzman. You have to say Holtzman 100% at fault for that one. And Rogers, he's going to be hurting. He's going to be wounded. He's still on the live pictures at least trying to make up positions. He has no other choice if he wants to give himself the best chance coming into that final round.
The thing is, Josh can't afford to do anything rash in this race right now. He just needs to score as many points as he can do and not get himself any penalties going into the final round. That's what he's got to do, but I tell you what, the pressure is really on him now for this championship, and if we stay as we are, this championship is going to be wide open into that final two races at Monza, and we know what drama Monza creates. I mean, this place is giving us enough right here, right now, so I'm thoroughly enjoying this. It's going to be an absolute firecracker towards the end of the championship, but we're keeping an eye on this front battle because Sebastian Job this time around isn't pulling away quite as much here, Connery, and Jeremy Bootloop is keeping in his wheel tracks.
Yeah, certainly keeping the British driver honest here is the Frenchman there for the race lead. But what drama we've already had here in the first 7 minutes of this race. You've had multiple incidents happen to your championship leader. That means in all likelihood it is going to be a straight-up showdown when it comes to that final round of the season. As long as Beneke, a big send down the inside of De Jong. De Jong completely and utterly butchered turn number 10 there. Beneke able to slot himself through, and he's up into a podium place.
I think he actually got a slow-down penalty at the corkscrew, did De Jong, and I think he was trying to keep out the way to try and serve that penalty. He's on the brakes. He was trying to serve it as much as possible while keeping them behind, but it hasn't worked out for him. So now Beneke up into the podium positions. He is looking good for a good haul of points. Looking at the replay with De Jong, and I believe it was at the corkscrew here, so it was through the left and then at the right. He just cuts a little bit too much on the right, I feel, and that's why he was very slow into that penultimate corner.
Yeah, absolutely. A critical error there on the part of the American, and now he's on the back of that, what is a podium position train there. So still not really out of contention in this one for Mitchell. Just a little bit of an error into turn 10 has put him back just a little bit there. Has handed points on a silver platter to the German of Maximilian Beneke. So he's going to be very, very happy indeed about that. I'm just going to have a look back to see a little bit of an update in terms of how Joshua Rogers is going. He's in a little bit of clear air for P24 at this stage. So that is absolutely horrible. He has 20 minutes to try and rack up as many positions as he can here to make this race just a little bit better for him. But, you know, even with the abilities of Joshua Rogers, he locks up in towards the corkscrew. It's going to be tough. It's going to be very, very tough. And, you know, it's going to be interesting in terms of bringing the calculators out to see what the points gap is right at the end of this race.
Well, right now, in the position that he's in, Joshua Rogers is going to be scoring 12 points in this particular feature race. For Max Beneke, he's going to be scoring 70 if they stay as they are in this particular race. That's not taking into account qualifying or the sprint race. So that's how it stands right now, just in this particular race there. So really interested to see how they move on. Now, looking with the sprint race results added to that, there's the possibility, I haven't quite worked it out yet, that Maximilian Beneke might lead this championship into the final round. Well, you go away and do the maths whilst we're talking here, because looking further down the order, it's Jared Filsell putting the pressure, the Australian putting the pressure on the Scotsman of Kevin Ellis Jr., both drivers racing under the Apex Racing Team banner, into the corkscrew once again, but they're stuck behind Bobby Zelensky, another American in this one. Of course, we see him in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing, and well, these drivers, they're multifaceted here in this championship, and it's great to see such drivers coming in here and showing their diversity and their all-round nature of the driving, but it's a close battle here. 3 spots on the line here, 11th, 12th and 13th as they go across the line as quick as that. Half a second between them as they head on down into the Andretti hairpin once again. But I tell you what, these drivers, they are pushing on hard. Another couple of drivers who are pushing on hard is Nils Koch and Antoine Hijlar, as well as Jack Sedgwick. So 3 drivers again in a bit of a queue, and again half a second between the 3 of those as well. So great little battle packs going on in this race here, Connery, and I hope my incoherent rambling right here is giving you some time to do some maths.
Still not quite done. Still not quite. It's hard to keep a focus on the race while also trying to fiddle around with the spreadsheet, as to say. So I'll get an update on that one in just a couple of moments' time. But yeah, 20 minutes now left in this race, and well, we can see this 3-car battle on the way up towards the corkscrew there. That's Antoine Hijlar trying to defend from Koch and Sedgwick. So the Frenchman, the German, and the Brit. It sounds like a start to the joke, but it's the running order for those 3 right now.
I'm sure I've used that joke earlier on in the season, but anyway, as we head towards the end of the lap once again, and Koch, at the moment, the German, being patient, waiting for his opportunities, and this is what happens around this track, is that you have to line up your moves and you have to think about it. It's a real thinking person's track. Goes into the back of Hijlar, goes Koch there. Hijlar running wide at the hairpin, keeps it on the track, but Sedgwick goes down the inside as well. So 2 places lost for Antoine Hijlar there. Koch, I think it was just the slightest of contact, but that's what happens when you're hard on the brakes there. The back end goes light, and just the smallest of contact right there unsettles the rear of the car, pushes him into the hairpin. Great car control to not completely spin it out there, Antoine, but it does lose him a couple of positions as we'll look on board for the second replay. And you see the moment where he gets that little tap and almost gets sent around, but great reactions from the Frenchman to be able to keep it in 9th place. But I'm sure that they'll be not too happy about that in the Apex Racing Team camp, and they'll be asking the stewards to look at that afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly one that's going to be a bit contentious. There's a red line driver having a little bit of a fracas there with the VRS Crown Sim Sports car. That's Gregor Hutu there. That was having a bit of a fight, I believe, with the Pasalis Jurges in towards that particular section. And now Hutu, you can see look, on the replay, a little bit of punt towards the inside of Jurges there. Another little shove in reply from Jurges off the corner. And now Hutu's going to lose a good couple of spots as a result.
Yeah, absolutely. A little bit of damage to boot as well for him. And you just look at this queue of cars again. Further down your field, this is Hutu down in 20th, but looking behind, you've got drivers looking to make moves. Joshua Rogers, by the way, a little bit of an update, 22nd position for him. Mike Kroenke is not exactly going to fight Josh, the Australian. So Cholak in front now is the next target. The Croatian ex-touring car driver Marin Cholak is going to be battling it out with Joshua Rogers. Connery.
Well, the points difference coming into the final round, if it finishes as it is, will be just a little bit over 10 points as the points difference. I haven't calculated the qualifying points into this one from this round, but if we just count race results, then it's going to be 10 points in between them. So now Rogers, well, it's going to be a little bit more now. He's been able to get past Marin Cholak there into the corkscrew. A little bit of the concertina effect coming through the middle of the corner, but Rogers making that 10-point difference look a little bit larger now.
It's almost like a Hollywood director has written a script for this, because I tell you what, this championship is close. Speaking of close, at the front of your field, Jeremy Bootloop is getting a lot closer to Sebastian Job for your race lead. So all of a sudden, the Englishman and the Frenchman are close together. Less than about a quarter of a second between the two of them. So these two have pulled away a little bit from Max Benecke these last few laps, and they're having their own little battle here as they come into the left-handed turn number 5. bottom of the hill, carry the speed through the corner because you're going up a steep incline right now, so you need to carry as much speed as possible up the hill. They are powerful cars, but every little kilometre an hour will help you throughout this race. Jamie Fluke is still battling away as well with De Jong as they head into the corkscrew once again, and De Jong, the American, putting the pressure on the Northern Irishman of Jamie Fluke. So definitely some close battles up here at the front of your pack.
Yeah, I've just had a little bit of look at Rogers because he just made an easy pass over Paschalis Jurgis down in towards that turn 5. So Coanda, well, they say no team orders, but the drivers aren't exactly making it hard for Joshua Rogers to make their way through on him. So he's going to pick up a good couple of positions over those drivers of the same team here. It's almost the exact same situation as we had at Nürburgring, interestingly enough. So that's going to be a bit of a point of contention. I'm waiting for that tweet from your racing team to complain about that one. But on board with Mitchell de Jong. And, well, he's still with an outside shot at this championship. Of course, he was third in points coming into this one. He will lose a boatload of points over Sebastian Job and, of course, Maximilian Benecke as well. But if he's able to keep himself inside the top 5 here, he'll have that low percentage chance of taking things right at the end of this season. But still, the prize money for those top 5 cars, still a healthy amount in sim racing at least.
Absolutely gorgeous golden glow from the sky here, setting the sun here on this feature race. We've got 13 3/4 minutes remaining in this race, and these drivers are putting on a great show for us in this one. As we're past the halfway point, Sebastian Job then is your race leader ahead of Jeremy Bootloop. That's pulled out slightly to 0.6 of a second between those two. Max Benecke, third place, 1.3 seconds behind Jeremy Bootloop, the Frenchman, was the German, and then Jamie Fluke and Mitchell de Jong, that close battle in 5th and 6th place. 4th and 5th place, should I say. 6th place is Tommy Erstgaard down there. He's a little bit out on his own, really. 1.3 behind, but 4 seconds ahead of the battle for 7th. Niels Koch ahead of Jack Sedgwick, with Antoine Higelar not that far behind in 9th, and David Williams 10th. Jared Filsell and Kevin Ellis Jr. are on that battle, and Bobby Zelensky isn't that far behind those drivers either. So close battling just at the bottom of your top 10 here in this race, Connery. But everything's settled down a little bit now in this race, and drivers, they're just got in that swing of things now, and they'll be thinking about their next moves.
If you look to where Rogers is right now, he's currently got Patrick Holtzman, who other than Patrick Holtzman, ahead of him right now. And this one's going to be an interesting one, because one of the instances that Rogers was involved in was Patrick Holtzman running straight into the back of him. So I'm wondering how this is going to be negotiated between the two drivers for P18 and P19. Rogers not close enough just yet in towards the corkscrew, but he has been setting fastest laps time and time again, even while he's further down the field, just like this, and in traffic, having to file his way through, as those lights on those Porsches, they've turned on in the last couple of minutes. So that's how the light level is getting low here at the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Good run from Rogers, though, through turn 10. Can't set anything up for turn 11, though, but this is one of the big overtaking opportunities then, out of turn 11 and then down in towards technically turn 2. Thank you, American corner naming systems. But Rogers then, does he go for a move? It is a defensive line being taken by the German. Rogers, big wide line into the corner, can carry a lot more mid-corner speed, but Holtzman very well done in parking that car on the apex and denying Rogers the run.
Absolutely, as they head on through turn number 3 then, towards 4. You're looking back from Holtzman, from the hanging on to the engine cover right there, as Rogers putting the pressure on, piling the pressure on, should I say, from Australia, of course. Joshua Rogers been the king of sim racing this year so far. Of course, won the GT World Championship as well in iRacing, the VRS GT World Championship Series, along with his teammates, Ricardo Castrolano, one of those teammates in that effort there. So he's already a world champion this year, and he wants to make it, well, possibly the biggest series that he'll race in all year, the Porsche Esports Supercup. down into the right-hander at the penultimate corner goes in. But we'll look forward at the battle, because there's been a bit of action between Sedgwick and Niels Kirsch once again, and that was into the corkscrew. They were pretty close together, and they were pushing hard, almost swapping positions there, but those two, they're not giving up this battle further down in your top 10, because 7th through to 12th place all together in a line.
Yeah, absolutely. So very, very close run thing in the bottom end of your top 10 between all of these drivers. Just outside the top 10 as well is Jared Vilsell, also involved in this one for that Apex Racing team. So the Australian has a very good run over Williams there. Williams just butchered the middle of the corner there, and now Vilsell inside line for the king. He has to back out. Only half backs out though, still sticks a nose in there. He'll get the run up towards the corkscrew now. Nothing between them in terms of advantage going each way here in terms of the speed into the corner, but Williams will have the position into the corner to keep Jared Vilsell behind for now. But Vilsell, he's looking very, very racy indeed. A big look towards the inside for turn 9 there. I don't see moves often down into there when you're a car or so length back, but now Vilsell looks in towards the final corner. Not going to happen, but you know, like I said, it's the run out of the final corner and the dive in towards turn 2 is the big, big opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. As they head on across the line, they have lost a little bit of ground on the cars ahead of them, so they need to be careful not to battle too hard, does Williams and Vilsell, as they head into the Andretti hairpin once again. And these two still carrying on that battle. There's not going to be any change of position just in the immediate future of that battle, so we'll look at another one.
Rogers!
And Rogers! Oh, not again! What on earth is happening to him here today? This is not his day at all. We'll get a replay up on screen. And yes, Patrick Holtzman then, we'll look at it. It's down into turn 1 once again. And that's a bit more of a firm push out the way from Holtzman that time. And yeah, I think he can miss your braking once, but not twice there in towards turn number 1. But that's quite a brutal hit, shall we say?
Yeah, I think there's a, you know, I don't want to poke the fire, stoke the flames, but I think there's a little bit more in that for Holtzman. You don't just go that deep on the brakes and don't really change your line straight into the back of a car ahead. I'm just going to try and confirm things looking at my own onboard view. It's like he locked up because the car was completely unstable, didn't want to turn, although by the steering inputs he didn't really even attempt to turn for the corner. So we'll have to see how that one turns out, because the stewards will have all the telemetry in the world to try and work that one out. But oh my word, this race just keeps getting more and more dramatic.
And this is why having stewards' decisions after the race, as Alejandro Sanchez is on pit road with heavy damage to his car, this is part of the reason why stewards' decisions are made after the event, because they get all the telemetry from all the drivers, so they get to see what their inputs were, and that's crucial in being able to make those types of decisions here in this event and in this championship. So I like to give a benefit of a doubt. And I like to say that, you know, maybe it was just he missed his braking because he was so close to Josh. So I will leave it at that with that particular instant, but it doesn't look good.
Back. Yeah, he's too far back. Though I can understand if he was like literally right on his back bumper coming into the braking zone and he wasn't able to see his braking marker, for example. You know, that would be an understandable situation for me. But when he's that far back and he's going that late on the brakes and not even attempting from the body language of his car to look for the inside line into the Mario Andretti hairpin, I think that's a little bit more. And I wouldn't be surprised if the stewards actually apply a severe penalty to him for that, and especially considering they've already had history in the opening couple of laps of this race.
Right, well, there's 6 minutes remaining in this race then, and we'll get back to the action, because there's still plenty of it. There's a race going on still here in this WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca round of the Porsche Esports Supercup. Of course, the penultimate round of the Porsche Esports Supercup, and still we've got close action for 7th place. Jack Sedgwick is still all over the engine of the number 33 of Niels Kirsch. The German and the Brit battling it out for 7th place. They've been able to gap out Antoine Higeland just a little bit in this battle, so they've been able to get away. Kosh runs wide through the kink. That's going to allow Cedric the opportunity to look at the inside, but then firmly closes the door, does Kosh. That was a real firm no thank you, sunshine, you're not getting through, as they go through the corkscrew once again. But this brings Higeland, Williams, Philsell, Kevin Ellis Jr. all back into this battle.
Yeah, absolutely. So things starting to heat up once again here for the final 5 minutes of this race, especially for those positions just inside of that top 10. Niels Kush still trying to hold on. There's a little bit side by side for the back though. That's Javil Sell trying to follow his way through on David Williams. He has the speed down the pit straight. He has the outside line, excuse me, for the Andretti hairpin though. So David Williams can fight back here right on the inside of that corner. Clips both apexes perfectly, powers off. He's able to recover the position.
Absolutely. So Williams, he's great in traffic, he really is. I'm sure he would like a bit more practice at the front of the field in these World Championship events, but he's shown that he's been great in traffic throughout this season, and he's been pushing on. But that's just gapped those front three and those back three, separated them out a little bit. That little bit of action between Philsell and Williams, but still with time running out.
News. Patrick Holtzman disqualified from the race.
Wow.
Moved from the server. That's not an instant point limit. That is an admin disqualification.
Wow. Okay. So immediate action taken then by the admins. So
we have to put this in context, because usually we see penalties handing out post-race. We've never seen, at least in the Porsche Esports Super Cup, maybe Will can chime in with the history of sim racing here on iRacing, but we've never seen, at least in an iRacing World Championship race, someone disqualified.
Oh, it's an instant further down, by the way, and it's Martin Kroenke. Oh, Marcus Jensen's got involved in this one as well, further down in your field. It's at the corkscrew. Big instant for Martin, and it's just not been his season as this, as we take a look at the replay then. So he goes and throws it down the inside, locks the back end up, clips one driver, and then gets helped over the bonnet there of another one. And Marcus Jensen, really the innocent party in all of that.
Yeah, this is, that's a little bit more carnage there towards the bottom end of the field. And yeah, this race has been one of attrition, I think is probably the nicest term I can say for this. And wow, there's so many things that are happening in this race, and we still got 3 minutes to go. There's no reason why something else can't happen here in this race to throw a spanner in the works in terms of the championship here today. So there will be some quite interesting discussions after the race about everything we've seen here today. I am certainly looking forward to that one, to see the teams and the drivers' replies to what has happened here today. There's Sebastian Job. He hasn't had any dramas in this race at all. He's pole position in the sprint race win, pole position in the feature race, and potential feature race win here. He's extended the gap over the Frenchman of Jeremy Bootloop up to 1.2 seconds, and this is very good for Joe, because he also is a championship contender as well. And with Rogers having a very bad race, he can keep himself close to Beneke and Mitchell to be able to make a fight of it.
Yeah, absolutely. It was an outside shot of the championship, and well, you never know. After an event like this is perfect for him. It's not a perfect weekend because he doesn't get the 10 points for getting the fastest qualifying time, but that didn't matter for him. Still, you're looking at a maximum of 150 points then for Job in this race. Beneke is flashing the lights, everybody. He is flashing the headlights at Jeremy Bootloop. He's trying to get in the head of Jeremy as they're heading through the kink. The time is running out, and they're only going to get one more lap here in this race. So Beneke trying to make as many positions as possible as they go through the left into the right here. And well, Beneke, he wants to get that second place. He wants to give himself the best opportunity of taking the lead of this championship heading into the final round. But it's been a drama-filled race here, and well, we're at the start of your final lap here, Connery.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about the future ramifications of what Holtzman did, because of course he's been disqualified from this race, we'll have to wait to see if there's any further action coming into the final race of the season, or indeed the entire championship, because that was very, very egregious what is done here today. And, you know, of course, Red Bull Racing Esports will have their chance to respond. Of course, Niels Nujok's currently the sim racing coordinator for that team, and a sim racer at heart himself as well. So I'll be very, very keeping a keen eye on my Twitter to see exactly what he's going to say about that one. But I have to say, the behavior from some of his drivers, even in this championship, look back to the first round of Rasmussen, it has been absolutely horrendous.
David Williams has been around. That's at turn number 2 down at the Andretti hairpin. We'll get a quick look at this one before we go to the end of this race. He was battling with Jared Filsell. There was just a little bit of contact from Filsell, and then Kevin Ellis Jr. finished him off there. Not a lot that Kevin could have done in that run, but Sebastian Job headed towards the end of the race now. He's just got a couple of corners remaining here, and he did it once at Silverstone. He did the double win at Silverstone just a couple of rounds ago, and through the final corner now will go Sebastian Job. The Englishman powers out the corner, and he's going to take the win here in the feature race of round number 9 of the Porsche Esports Super Cup. What a drive, what a performance from the Red Bull Racing Esports driver, and Sebastian Job is $1,000 richer here in this race. Max Benecke then, did he just sneak second place at the end? No, he didn't, but Jeremy Bootloop got second place in the end there. We'll look back at the battle that happened between Sedgwick and Kurt going into the final corner it was, and it's a great late move from Jack Sedgwick. He bullied him wide, he bullied the German wide, did the Englishman, and across the line they went. So that was 7th and 8th place for those two. But what a performance from the Englishman Sebastian Job. 2 from 2 here in this race. And well, we'll be able to very shortly bring you your final race results here from WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca, and what a drama-filled and championship implications this will have. But here's the results then. Sebastian Job is your race winner ahead of Jeremy Bootloop in second place, with Max Benecke rounding off the podium. Mitchell de Jong with Jamie Fluke switching positions near the end of the race there actually to finish 4th and 5th. Tommy Østgaard 6th ahead of that move that you saw just now, Jack Sedgwick and Niels Kirsch. Antoine Hijla and Jared Filsell rounding out your top 10. Kevin Ellis Jr. finished that one in 11th in the end ahead of Yao Vaz. A really good recovery drive from Yao, considering he wasn't allowed to qualify for the sprint race. Bobby Zelensky started 13th, finished 13th. He finished ahead of Thomas Tatella. Gregor Hutu, bit of a recovery drive from him in 15th ahead of the battling and battered Joshua Rogers. David Williams then, after that incident at the start of the final lap, finishes in 17th ahead of Pastjurgis. Kazuki Imashima, quite a quiet week for him, down in 19th place ahead of Graham Carroll, who of course had an incident earlier on in the race. Marin Cholak 21st ahead of Alexander Thebe. Ilka Harpler 23rd with Marcus Jensen 24th, and Dion Verges is the last of the runners. So 25 finishes in that race, with Marin Cholak, Alejandro Sanchez, Patrick Holtzman, Ricardo Castroledo, and Sebastian Dunkel all failing to finish.
I'm not quite sure what to say after that race. That had pretty much everything, and well, there's a lot that's going to be going on into the final round of the championship in 2 weeks here on Racesport TV and on the iRacing Esports Network. I mean, Connor, when we were at Sim Racing Expo a couple of weeks ago, there was some shade thrown at Coanda by Pure Racing Team. Now, it's going to be very interesting. Of course, we've got 3 teams who have got drivers apparently at IA Frankfurt in a week's time. We've got Coanda Sim Sports, we've got Pure Racing Team, and Red Bull Racing Esports. One of those drivers from Red Bull Racing Esports is Patrick Holtzman. Now, we are doing a lot of work getting ready for that race next week. One thing I didn't think I needed, Connery, was security.
Yeah, I mean, we always joke when we go to these LAN events that you might get the opportunity to commentate like WWE style with drivers having a bit of fisticuffs, but Jesus Christ. Yeah, that's going to be an interesting event, and it could be that even Holtzman's not even allowed to go there, which would be a huge drama in and of itself. But we'll just have to wait and see, because it is, of course, not an official round of the championship. It's just a show race for all intents and purposes. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens there. So we've got a good couple of weeks of just crazy Porsche racing at this stage, if this race is anything to go by.
Yeah, but it was, we need to start off, of course, with Sebastian Job, and he has got the double victory here today. And, I mean, Seb's had some very good races this season. There's been one or two times that we've talked about the unforced errors by Seb, but Paul, I will have to say, he has been utterly faultless this weekend.
I mean, you keep on saying about the enforced errors, but I've not really seen it that much this season.
No.
I think he has so matured as a driver in these last couple of years that Seb has well and truly thrown that monkey off his back, in my opinion. You look at it, as I say, he got the double win at Silverstone. He's had other podium finishes in this championship as well. So he's got the speed, he's got the ability, and he was an outside chance of the championship going into this round. We'll have to wait for the championship standings to update very shortly, but it's going to be an interesting final round at Monza, that's for sure, because these drivers have given everything for this championship, and you've seen a few drivers pushing that threshold just a little bit too much.
Yeah, indeed, and we are waiting. We will give you the championship standings as soon as we get confirmation. So what we're going to do first is we'll run through your results from your heat race to begin. And you can see Sebastian Job was able to get victory over Jeremy Bouteloup, Mitchell de Jong third, Max Benecke fourth, Jamie Fluke in fifth, Tommy Erskard, Antoine Higelar, Graham Carroll, Thomas Tatala and David Williams rounds out your top 10. We managed to go the entire broadcast, by the way, without saying that Thomas Tatala is now part of Logitech G Altus Esports. We have had a late race team change going on. Okay, that's just very weird. My phone literally just started playing random stuff, but let's go to our feature race, shall we? And let's show you the top 10 from that one. And again, Sebastian Job came in victory over Jeremy Bouteloup. Max Benecke gets an all-important podium. That could well be the crucial part of this championship. Mitchell de Jong in fourth place, Jamie Fluke in fifth, then Tommy Erskard, Jack Sedgwick, Niels Koch, Antoine Higelar, and Jared Filsell. They are your top 10, as we have got the opportunity to speak to your race winner. And, well, Sebastian Job, congratulations. You're able to get yourself the double here today.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really happy with that. Very similar to Silverstone. But, yeah, I was not expecting it. I was just hoping to get some solid points today and not lose any ground to the top three in front. But I couldn't have gone any better, really. I was very lucky to get 8th in qualifying, because I thought I'd kind of choked my lap a bit, and I was panicking that I wasn't gonna be in the top 8, and luckily it was just about perfect.
And in terms of the actual racing itself, we saw you taking a very defensive line for the first couple of laps versus Jeremy Bouteloup. I mean, this track can be notoriously hard to overtake at, but we've also seen a number of big issues up and down the field as well. How did you approach those opening laps to both the sprint race and the feature? I guess what you mean by defensive line is that I was trying to break the draft on the straight, and I figured even if it's just like a couple of hundredths, it will add up over 5 laps, and then maybe you have an extra 10th. And I was just trying to break the draft, which I managed in race 1, and then from then on I was kind of managing it. I was a bit worried about fuel for no reason. I ended up having not way too much, but I had enough, and I started fuel saving for no reason. But in race 2, I put a bit more fuel in, then just pushed the whole time, but I just couldn't break the draft really until the last couple of laps. So it was just maximum attack for the whole of the second race, and it meant it was quite an intense 30 minutes for me. You currently have 794 points. You are, trying to do the maths in my head, 58 points behind Josh Rogers as we head into the final round of the season at Monza in a fortnight. We'll talk about Monza first. I mean, that is the track. It's almost like the Talladega race of this season where anything can happen. Is that a strategy that you're going to have? Is it going to be the case of just try and get out in front and see what happens? And what are you worried about heading into Monza?
I've not really thought about Monza yet. I've just kind of been taking it one race at a time, but I guess even with the draft, it would probably be the same as always, trying to make sure you qualify in the top 8, hope for a bit of luck with others not having great races, and yeah, just hope for a solid result. I hope there's not too much strategy involved, because then it's a lot of work to figure that out.
And of course, next week we're going to be seeing you in Frankfurt at IA Frankfurt, the Frankfurt Auto Show, for the special non-championship round of that season. Serious question, is that a distraction? Is it just another great opportunity? And how are you approaching that racing, as you don't actually know yet what track you're going to be running at?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, actually. We had the Porsche Leipzig event last year, and that was awesome, so it's great that they're doing another event. Yeah, you can't really prepare for it other than I don't know if it's fixed setup or open setups, but like you said, it's okay, so won't be doing any setup work. I guess we've practiced quite a few tracks in the Porsche now. Just gotta, I don't know if I want it to be one of the tracks we've already done, because if it's not, then it's quite a new experience, and it's who can learn the track in the quickest amount of time. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it, really.
Well, before we let you go, Seb, shout out sponsors. Who gets it done for you and that Red Bull Racing Esports scene?
Yeah, I'd just like to say thank you to everyone in the team, particularly Graham, who me and Patrick weren't able to help out as much this week, so Graham kind of carried a bit with the preparation, so yeah, big thanks to him.
Well, thank you very much, Sebastian Joben, coming home with the victory here in both the sprint race and the feature, and of course what that does mean is he is $1,000 richer. We will talk to your second place driver, Jeremy Bootsloop, in just a couple of moments' time. But before we do that, Connery, we have point standings. Josh Rogers, 852. Max Benecke, 818. Sebastian Job, 794. Mitchell de Jong, 787. 4 drivers, still mathematically, in a chance of winning this championship. And it will be almost a case of the winner takes it all. Not to quote the ABBA song too much.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll develop a system to keep better track of that for the final races of the season. That is for certain. But yeah, Rogers, his points lead has been decimated. It wasn't as close as it could have been, though, because remember what I said, it was like 10 points in the middle of that race, while Rogers was in P21, P22 sort of area. But he is able to recover a couple of positions up into P16, and of course you take qualifying points into the account as well. It does stand at under 40 points still, but that is still a very, very surmountable margin there for Max Benecke. If Josh has a good couple of problems in the next races as well, then he might be poised to take the championship.
Second place driver here today in your feature race, that is Jeremy Bootsloop from France. And well, Jeremy, it looked as though at points you had the opportunity to push Sebastian Job, but you just couldn't find a way through. Talk to your race.
Yeah, exactly. It was quite close at the beginning. I was able to stay in the draft, but then yeah, at the end I was struggling a little bit with the tires and couldn't really stay close. So had to settle for a P2, same as the first race. But I mean, overall I'm super happy because it's my best of this season. So it's a really good one for me.
Well, that also did move you up in the championship a little bit. You're now 7th place with 608 points. And how hard was it in terms of overtaking, and how hard was it in terms of that corkscrew? Because we saw your teammate Mitchell de Jong have a slowdown penalty there. We saw one of your other teammates have issues down at turns number 1 and 2. Just how hard and how slippy was that track condition out there today?
The track in general is just very technical. So there's a lot of corners where it's really easy to lose it or to overshoot it. So the corkscrew, yeah, but most of the corners on this track are quite tricky. So yeah, there was a real challenge to stay focused in the first race, and then in the second one for 30 minutes, knowing that obviously I had to try to get closer to Seb and also try to hold up Max behind. So yeah, that's I think one of the most intense race of the season, because you need to be so focused all the time.
We don't have a French round in the championship, so Italy is about as close as you get. We head ourselves to Monza in a couple of weeks' time. Is that one that you're looking forward to in terms of you maybe being able to get up into 6th place in the championship? What risks, worries, excitement do you have heading into that final round of the championship?
Well, I think this last round at Monza is going to be interesting, very open, a lot of overtaking opportunities. I'm pretty sure the race will be very exciting. Not easy though, even though there's no corners like Laguna Seca. It's another type of racing. And it's definitely going to be a challenge, especially because it's going to be the last one as well. So everyone just wants to finish on a good note. So it's going to be intense, and I'm really looking forward to it. And I'm really looking forward to end the championship in the right way.
Well, before we let you go, Jeremy, shout out sponsors. Who gets it done for you?
Big shout out to the team, VRS Conda Sim Sport, for all the support, for the preparation. The guys just did a stellar job for this round. And thanks to our sponsors and partners, so Virtual Racing School, End-to-End Design, SimQuip, Fitech, and GRT. And thank you guys for the podcast.
Well, thank you very much. Jeremy Bootsloop then 2nd place in both of the races. And, well, Connery, we haven't talked that much about Jeremy Bootsloop in this race today, but Bootsloop is one of those drivers who can be ultra consistent. He can push when he needs to, but he was, again, superb today. He wasn't able to find a way past Sebastian Job. However, he didn't do anything crazy, egregious, or anything wrong to try and force the issue.
Yeah, I have, on the vast majority of occasions, I have no complaints about how Jeremy approaches these sorts of races. He's a very clean, very calm and consistent driver on the majority of occasions, and he's done so again today. You know, P2 and in both races, and which is exactly where he started as well. So it's really a testament to how he runs these races. And, you know, he's not the most flashy of drivers, but he's a driver that you just see in 2nd place at the end of the race and just go, oh, he's had a good race.
Yeah, great result by him, of course. 3rd place driver here in our feature race is the German of Max Benecke. And, well, Max, you had yourself the opportunity to make up some points here today, but it was so close to you being involved in that incident at the beginning of the sprint race. Talk us through that moment of having to dance through all those cars around you.
Yeah, hey guys, absolutely crazy to be here after that really poor qualifying. That moment, as you said, was really intense. I was just like hoping for the best. I didn't do anything special. I saw one car on the left, I saw one car on the right. Like the solution was just to go through the middle, and it worked. I think I got a contact there. I have no idea which car tapped me or if I tapped the car. It was just like being in the tunnel, going through it, and yeah, luckily I survived. And yeah, that made up the good spot in the end. Very happy with this race. The championship is really close now up front. I think 4 people and like 50 points or so. So yeah, hopefully I can maintain the position or even get the 1st position in Monza.
Well, talk us through your strategy here, because we saw that once you were able to get yourself up into a podium position, you were trying to push Jeremy Bootsloop, but you weren't trying to make any ultra crazy moves. When you come towards the end of the season, how much were you thinking about, you know, having to maximize your point potential here, knowing that Josh had a bad day, and how much of you was thinking, well, actually, I could still go and push for 2nd, push for the win?
Yeah, that's the 2 points you exactly are talking about. Like the first point is the championship is so close now. You don't want to have any incident which could cost you some points. Like even 5 points would be a big mess here. So that's the first thing. And the second thing, it's Laguna Seca, and overtaking is super difficult. You have to have a good run and the other guy has to make a mistake. So what I did in the end, I just tried to keep the pressure up on Jeremy. I saw that he was struggling a bit with the tires, so I was hoping for him to just like get a slowdown penalty in the corners, or just missing a braking point. But I didn't want to make a spectacular move, because that could cost the championship in the end. So yeah, just being careful, but at the same time keeping up the pressure, so that the opponent probably can do a mistake.
So 2 weeks time, we go to Monza for the final round of the championship. Monza is one of those tracks, of course, that everyone I've spoken to already said it's going to be a very different type of racing. It's going to be a case of, on one hand, having to survive the opening laps, but also remembering the fact that you have got a championship you need to fight for. How are you going to approach that race, your mindset and your preparation coming into Monza in a fortnight?
Actually, I have no idea so far. I need to test a couple of things, because Monza is very special, as you said. We have a lot of slipstream. You basically can't drive away from somebody, except there's a big carnage behind you, or people are fighting for positions. The start is also going to be very crucial, so you have to practice that. Going into turn 1 from a standing start, everybody's really close. It's going to be, I think, a mess, but hopefully I can survive that. But it's normal. Like, if you look at the real racing series, it's the same. A standing start on Monza, everybody's really close, and there's always a big pile up in the first corner. So you just need to be careful there. Don't try to tap the guy in front. Don't get a tap from behind. But we will see. Preparation will be good for that, I guess. And and then we will just see surviving the first corner, and then look what we can do. Obviously, with the qualifying format, it's going to be kind of random again, but this time pole position won't be like the thing you need to have to win the race, because slipstream is so big. So we will see. Preparation is going well, and then we will just try to survive the first corner.
And of course, in a week's time, you are going to be one of the 6 drivers on stage at IAA Frankfurt Auto Show. How does it feel to be running on the Porsche stage, the same Porsche stage that they announced, the Porsche Taycan, a week ago, taking part in an event at the world's biggest and probably best auto show?
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. I've been there at the beginning of the week when there was, as you said, the preview of the new Taycan. So I already know the stage, and so I feel quite comfortable going there already. Which could be like a bit of a mental advantage. But yeah, it's going to be awesome. Really looking forward to it. Hopefully having good races there. I saw you guys made a lot of preparation for that. So yeah, let's just go there and have fun.
Well, before we let you go, Max, shout out sponsors. Who gets it done for you and your team?
Yeah, thanks for Alex for the preparation. Also some other guys for our sponsors, Spusu, Autohaus Wallmeier, Ascher Racing. Thanks to you guys, and also shout out to Fabrice Cornelis for the great preparation this week.
Thank you, Max Benecke, coming home 3rd place in your feature race. And of course, that does mean that he gets a little bit of cash as well, Connery.
Yeah, absolutely. A little bit of cash in the bank account there of the German, of Benecke, but just what a crazy race. I still haven't come down off of that just yet. So this is going to be an interesting sort of post-race phase through the rest of the day, it has to be said. But yeah, credit where credit is due. Sebastian Job has had an absolutely stellar race here today with the sprint race win and the main race win. But it's a tale of 2 situations for Red Bull Racing Esports. It seems you have this incredible race with Sebastian Job, and then you look and see what happened with Holtzman. You know, it's. I'm not really going to comment any further on the broadcast, I suppose, because I think I've already all said all I need to say, and everyone's heard about it. But yeah, it's this does have ramifications, maybe, of course, into the next race, maybe into next season as well. So we'll have to wait and see what the official response is.
Yeah, Paul and I will talk about it a little bit more in a moment's time in that case. But we have got one more driver to talk to, and it is the driver who came home 5th place here in our feature race, Jamie Fluke from the Apex Racing team. Great to have you with us here again. Crazy day, isn't it?
Yeah, that's probably the best word to describe it. A lot happening, a lot of drama, a lot of action. Surprisingly for me, there's one race meeting where everything kind of just happened all around me, and I just could fire through the middle, almost like parting the Red Sea, and just kept it nice and clean.
Yeah, Paul was specifically saying on the broadcast, normally when we have crazy races like this, you always end up being in the middle of it. This time you were able to avoid it, but talk us through some of the incidents, especially down at the corkscrew, for example. The cars, when someone makes a small error, it seems to be everyone just bunches up instantaneously.
Yeah, exactly. So I could say that it was like 2 wide ahead going into the kink or something like that, and cars heading off wide and coming back on, and all of a sudden it looked like it was 3 wide. I took a look up ahead. It's like, I should probably back off here a little bit and give myself time to pick my way through this, because I had a little bit of space behind, and sure enough, all hell broke loose into the corkscrew, and I had enough time then to pick my way through it without having to come to a complete stop. So yeah, I managed to work that quite nicely in my favour.
And in terms of, well, you and your event, you say you were able to get yourself P number 5 here. It was interesting and close at some point between yourself, Mitchell de Jong, Max Benecke. Was there anything you were thinking about during the race, like, I don't want to ruin someone's championship, or were you just thinking, nope, I'm same as everyone else, I'm going to race them exactly the same?
I personally don't care about any of their championships. As much as I get on well with all them guys, I care about my own race and my own championship. So I've had a few bad rounds and really just wanted a clean and solid result out of today. With the pace not being exceptionally good, I knew I would fight them, but I wouldn't do anything silly or try and make a name for myself by trying to interject myself into a fight that isn't mine. So I raced them as hard and as fair as I could, but I only cared about my race today, and that was just to get good solid points.
You are now 8th place in the championship. You're not that far back from Jeremy Bouteloup and Patrick Holtzman as we head into Monza in a fortnight's time. Everyone I've spoken to so far has said it's going to be a mixture of survival, reflexes, and basically just being lucky. Anything else you want to add to the list of success items for Monza?
If anyone can give me a crystal ball to inform me of what's going to happen so I can plot my way around it, that would also be really useful.
In terms of the championship, very quickly as well, I will ask that question again. In terms of the championship, being in 8th place, is it 6th that you're looking for now? Because, of course, you're only about 40 points back from Patrick Holtzman. And how much do you have to think about potentially losing points if you're involved in an incident as much as moving forward?
My eyes are just looking forward, so I think P6 is probably the best that I can realistically obtain. I'm not sure exactly how far 5th is. I haven't got the points in front of me at the moment, but top 6 is what I'm looking for. I think it's doable. I think it's very achievable. But we'll see how things line up in Monza and what we have to deal with there. But yeah, no, I'll definitely be looking forward.
Well, before we let you go, Jamie, shout out sponsors. Who gets it done for you and your team?
Not a problem. So I'd like to thank everyone at Apex and Evolution Racing Team. There's a lot of hard work that went on behind the scenes for this round, and thankfully it's paid off quite nicely for me. And I'd also like to thank our sponsors, Logitech G, Speedcraft.com, SDK Gaming, and Computers PC Systems.
Thank you very much, Jamie Fluke there, coming home 5th place in our feature race here today. Well, that's all the drivers we've got to talk about. But Paul, that championship, of course, Patrick Holtzman being disqualified from the race, well, that's potentially going to give Jamie Fluke the opportunity and Jeremy Bouteloup to move up 1 place at Monza.
Well, I mean, we have to wait and see what the stewards turn around and say about that, and they will be paying very close attention to all the data that they have, as well as the replay of this race. Have a real close look at that incident. As I say, I always like to give people a benefit of a doubt when we only get a couple of looks at the incident in question, but it did not look good. I'll say that, to miss your braking point once in the race and go to the back of somebody, I can understand that, because it is a hard-fought championship with really, really close battling in this series. But to be a little bit further back and still miss your braking point to the back of them, it does not look good for him. But it wasn't it wasn't great. It wasn't the greatest of incidents that we had there, and unfortunately, it soured what was turning out to be a really intense battle in that race.
It was, and we had a lot of battles going on, and of course, the thing that we haven't yet talked about, we don't get the chance to talk to him for finishing so far down the order, it is Josh Rogers. I mean, he's lucky that he had some of his teammates having issues in the last couple of laps of the event, Paul, because otherwise it would have been a little bit closer in terms of the championship battle. But Rogers, I mean, he finished 16th. That could have been 10 places lower if he was this race was won, and we said so before, normally, and there's the actual replay of the number 92. That was down in towards turn number 2. It is turn number 2 here, because it's Fogarty corner, turn number 1. That's turn 2, the Mario Andretti hairpin. But the thing for Rogers is he could have finished 10 places lower than that, in which case the championship really would have been on his head, Paul.
I mean, the thing is, with the way that this race went, if that had hit a bit harder, he could have been in the wall and could have been out the race and scoring no points.
Yes.
So, you know, the way that this track is, it punishes you if you end up in incidents. And I think he's actually got away lucky to have 2 incidents there in that second race, as well as the incidents in the first race as well, and to still be scoring some half-decent points after being falling pretty much to the back of the field. I think that's a sign of a maybe not a champion's drive, but certainly a really good response to an awful situation that could put a lot of stress on people and that could actually break other people. So definitely good driving from him to keep in there, but at the same point he needs to keep himself out of incidents like that, and he needs to be right at the front of the field for Monza, because as we've seen in the past, anything can happen at Monza.
Yeah, indeed so. And Connery, about Josh as well, I mean, I think Paul just made a really interesting point, that it is a package that you look for in a champion. When you have situations that don't necessarily go your way, it's how do you put that to one side, compartmentalise, and just move forward and finish the race to the best of your abilities. That is the mark of a great driver.
Yeah, it is exactly what Josh needed to do. You know, there's no room for giving up in these sorts of races, and maybe that's slight shade for throwing a particular driver in the first round of the season. But yeah, it's hard. It's difficult. You have to take these on the chin sometimes, and now you just got to look to that next race at Monza to do what you can do to secure this championship, because you still have a decent point margin. It's not as big as it once was, of course, and it does make a cause for concern for Joshua Rogers. But you know, I think, you know, at Monza, with his qualifying effort, yes, it does punish him, quote unquote, in a way by cycling him back to 8th. But you know, it's going to be a tough one. It's going to be a tough one. I literally don't know what to say by the time we actually get to 2 weeks' time when that race happens, because there's a lot to process. Yeah,
qualifying is most likely to be incredibly tight at that one, Paul. But again, a lot of people have said it's all about survival, a little bit of luck. I almost feel like we're going to go into a Fort Miners song in a minute if we're not careful. But the thing is that drafting will be key. And actually, when we get to think about that, it could be a case of, have you got a teammate and a friend in amongst you in the top 5? Because if so, you might get a little bit of help. If not, you could end up struggling a bit.
If you're in a queue of cars, you don't want to be at the head of it going into the start of the last lap.
Yes.
That is for sure around Monza. You can... It's one of those tricky tracks where you can actually defend a position. And we saw a couple of years ago a great finish in the GT World Championship, where it literally came down to how the 2 leaders exited the Parabolica and were able to get the run across the line. So it can be something as literally as thousandths of a second between drivers across the line at Monza, and that can be the difference between winning and losing a championship. And if I'm, well, not so much Max, but more Seb and Mitchell, you've really got nothing to lose now. Okay, you're in that top 3 if you're Seb Job, but really those 2, they need to throw caution to the wind, really push on, try and get as strong a results from the next 2 races to give themselves the best opportunity, so that if something does happen to Max and to Josh, that they're in that position to take advantage of that. As much experience as Josh and Max have of being in the championship fight, you still cannot get over the nerves and you have that extra stress on you, and you won't maybe go for a move that you would do. And the worst thing you could do is half-heartedly go for a move and end up in an incident and ruin your chances when you maybe should have backed off.
So there's a need to be assertive. I actually just thinking back to IndyCar, they always used to give the championship contenders special rims for the last race. People could apparently at 200 miles an hour see the rims and work out who the championship drivers are. But Connery, we've talked a lot about your top 4 drivers, of course. Joshua Rogers, Max Benecke, and Sebastian Jobe and Mitchell de Jong. However, there are still another 30-odd drivers who will be taking part in the event. And if you're anything like Jamie Fluke, you don't care if they're in the lead of the championship. You need to get your own points all.
Yeah, and I respect him for that, that way to approach the race, because of course it's a solo car, it's an individual championship, and if you have the capability to run at the front, you should be entitled to run at the front, or you should feel entitled to run at the front. Whether or not you do or not is a different issue, but it's for Jamie, I completely respect that decision, that if it comes down to it at Monza, he won't be making way for any of the championship runners. So, he's going to run his own race in his own way, which is all you can really ask for the drivers, because we don't really want these outside influences coming in and infecting the race. And I'm saying that in regards to Holtzman. I'm saying that in regards to Coander as well. We have to remember, because they're making things easier for Josh to make his way through on them. So I have to call both out. But at the end of the day, what we want out of Monza is just a race decided between the drivers themselves, no outside influences.
Yeah, indeed. And of course, that race will be in 2 weeks' time here on Racesport TV and on the iRacing Esports Network. However, Paul, before we go, of course, we've got another race coming up next week. It is a special non-championship round of the Porsche Esports Supercup, and that is going to be at a track which no one apart from me and a few people know.
Yeah, not even I've been told about which tracks we're going to, so it's going to be interesting. If you didn't get enough of me and Connery last night and today, well, you get us again next week. So it's going to be great. Going to be interesting action how this all works out for these drivers, and with it being a non-championship event, it's a little bit less of that pressure on them, and they could just go out there, have some fun, and hopefully produce some absolutely scintillating racing.
Yeah, there are still some prizes on offer. The first place driver will get $1,500 US. Second place, $1,000. Third place will get $500. So they are still racing for money, and of course they are going to be doing so at IAA Frankfurt. 6 drivers will be running on stage. The other drivers will be racing at home. And well, next week, Connery, you get to be joined by the one and only Mr. Jonathan Simone, because I unfortunately am going to be in Frankfurt.
Yeah, you're going to be running things behind the scenes at the Frankfurt Auto Show for Porsche, and yep, Jonathan, he's an absolutely fantastic guy. Be a welcome host to that unofficial race here in the Porsche Esports Super Cup. And well, I did commentate with him just a couple of days ago with some MX-5 racing at the new Catalonia circuit on iRacing, and that was a bunch of fun. So hopefully that's still going to be the case for Frankfurt as well.
Yeah, indeed. So that is all we have time for, though, here today from the penultimate round of the Porsche Esports Super Cup. And, well, we've seen pretty much everything here today. We've seen a championship shaken up. We've seen drama. We've seen incident. And, yeah, we've seen quite a bit of controversy as well. We hope that you'll be able to join us in the non-championship round of the Porsche Esports Super Cup in 1 week. And then, of course, the finale of the Porsche Esports Super Cup will be in 2 weeks' time at the legendary Monza circuit. So you really do not want to miss that one. In terms of the championship, it may be Joshua Rogers leading, but one little incident, and who knows, it could be Benecke, it could be Joe, it could be Mitchell de Jong getting themselves the championship of the Porsche Esports Supercup. From Paul Smith and Conor Maddock, I am Will Vincent. Thank you for spending your Saturday afternoon with us as we say goodbye and good night from WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca.